And I feel so sorry for the poor black folks who've had their pride bruised, who've never felt equal, now with glowing eyes, just like in rapture at all these events, and all the stupid white yuppies who want to prove they're not racist and are feeling so good, and all the brotherhood right now. You people are going onto the slave ships right now. You are being conned, 21st century slavery, by these Fingali. And it is going to be bad. That's why they keep telling you, in kind of a sad way, you can tell they're even halfway guilty, at least Mrs. Obama. She goes, I appreciate all your help now. Things are going to get really bad now, okay? Just do what we say, okay? They're going to get real bad. Because the bankers have already stolen $8.5 trillion, and they're stealing over $1 trillion a week, and they're taking you down, and they've got the troops ready and the FEMA camps ready. She doesn't go that far. She just says, things are going to get real bad now. Just do what we say, and things will be all right. And that's what I've always said, that when things finally implode, you'll see masses of people supporting the system out of fear, subconscious fear, out of denial. Because once you live in denial, and once you deny tyranny and corruption and abuse and bad things that are happening in little ways, then when the big challenges in your life and the big decisions in your life and the big things that you have to face in your life come up, you will deny and rationalize those. And so now they're terrorizing people, just like they stage terror attacks and say, now do what we say. America's got to unify. You're either with us or against us. You've got to do whatever we say. We've got to invade these countries. We've got to get rid of the Bill of Rights. We've got to build secret prisons. Don't worry, it's for the terrorists. It's not for you. And then it turns out they're using it in drug cases and everything else. And now they're saying Homeland Security is for the average American, and it is to stop political rebellion. You see how they do that? It's the same thing with Obama. Just do whatever we say and the depression will stop. Do whatever we say and we'll fix it. Do whatever we say. Go along with us. Now's the time to unify, under us the government, and to do the things we want. And what is he saying the first thing's going to be? It's going to be even more power and looting and foreign corporations openly coming in and taking over the infrastructure. I mean, folks, it is so hellish, their entire agenda. We are going to see the total looting of our country. We are going to see people starving. We are going to see people homeless. But then the savior will be the government with the food stamps, with the cards, with the welfare cards, enrolling the public. And then most people just won't be on the old-fashioned welfare. They'll have a corporate job that's funded by the government, and they will go work and be approved and have their ID card with an RFID badge to work. I mean, it's all everything they've been quietly setting up for decades and building and beta testing and lining up and getting prepared is all lined up now. And they're bringing in their messianic leader to try to whip the public up into it, just like the establishment with the Versailles Treaty imploded Germany. The Milner Group in England wrote about this. It's declassified. Lord Milner. They set up Hitler. The Germans were told, you just do what Hitler says and he will fix everything. And he didn't just have compulsory service. He had the voluntary brigades. And when I was on the Obama private website tonight, and I'll say this in closing, when I was on the private Obama website tonight, what is it, usaservice.org, and I clicked on zip codes in D.C., and I clicked on zip codes in Austin, 78704. And I clicked on zip codes in California. I knew what I was going to see. It's parties. Not just inauguration parties. It's parties a week from now. It's parties 2 weeks from now. It's parties. And if you study Hitler and you study Stalin, you study Mao, it was parties. It's a community they're forming. It's a cult they're forming. Okay, it's very little soup kitchens. It's very little Salvation Army. That's just to make it sound good and say we're good, we're great. It's parties at bars and parties in the woods and children's groups. And then on the side you see environmental groups, which are really land-grabbing groups, aren't real environmental organizations. There are real environmental problems. It is getting organized into the Million Mom March anti-gun groups. But 90% of it is parties. It's we're in a club, we're in a group, unifying under that peer pressure. And then those people who are emotionally invested and who have signed on to Barack Obama and who, I mean, look, here's the deal. Bill Clinton, I would say he's selling out missile secrets to the communist Chinese. He's trying to pass gun control bills, to victim disarmament bills. The guy is openly calling for a world government. The guy has all these mafia people and criminals and cocaine dealers in the White House. He's bad. I'm not anti-Democratic Party. I'm anti-New World Order, and they control both parties. And Democrats would say, how dare you, you evil right-winger. You just hate Bill Clinton. You're probably a racist. And then George Bush comes into office, and the Patriot Act and the staged terror and the police state, and but Clinton did Oklahoma too. And the whole agenda, Clinton just passed the baton right to him. And people said, oh, you evil communist, you love, Hugo Chavez, you love Fidel Castro, you love the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, you're a liar about all of this. George Bush isn't going to use the Patriot Act against the American people. They're not going to use the troops and the FEMA camps they're building on the American people. It's for Al-Qaeda. Now they're openly announcing it's for the people. It's actually happening. And now, because the people, this is the key, and I am closing here, because the people emotionally invested and signed on to Bill Clinton as if he was a real leader and he was their daddy and he was their friend and he was going to take care of them. They're delusional. They associate their personal power through this messianic cult of personality. Only you can set me free, as the 80s pop song goes. And it's the same thing with George Bush. They invested in him, and then George Bush, the system could use half the public support. Well, really, you had about 60% of people turning out to vote. He won by 55%. So you're really only talking about 37, 38% of the same with Obama, about 42% or so of the public. Because not everybody voted, were actually for him. So it isn't a majority. But the point is, that gullible group of voters, after they'd signed on to whatever Bush said or did, and after they had committed to him emotionally and invested in him and put their faith in him and a politician like it was the Beatles or rock star or the Pope, you're not supposed to put your faith, especially in politicians, just blindly. Then they could say, oh, by the way, we're torturing people. By the way, we're secretly arresting people. By the way, we are building camps. By the way, we are doing all this. And they were like, I guess it's all right. I guess it's good. Not knowing they just dehumanized themselves. Not knowing they just signed on to all of this. So, now it's the same thing with Barack Obama. They're signing on. They're invested at a level 100 times what it was with George Bush or Bill Clinton. This rivals cult of personality under leaders anywhere in the world. Do people out there understand how dangerous it is to put this type of messianic power and this type of further and this type of hype that the media has carefully calculated, and Obama, by never giving specifics, has carefully calculated? Do you realize historically that in every case it turns out bad? Do you realize? In every case it turns out bad, except maybe in the case of George Washington. And he got all these laurels after he'd won the war. And then he was offered dictatorial power because he was a messianic leader, but a naturally occurring one, a great rarity. And he said, no. That's the one case you can find in history. Believe me, I challenge you to find others where someone said, I don't want to be king. I don't want to be emperor. I don't want to be dictator. That is the one case. So you understand, ladies and gentlemen, this is an artificially engineered, a synthetic organization of Barack Obama. And I just want to say this to Webster Tarpley. He was dead on about it all. I already respected the guy, and I already knew history, but it was so over the top what he was saying. I hadn't analyzed Obama fully. I couldn't believe that there would be this brand. I thought they just liked having a left-wing or right-wing puppet that they slapped around in the media and tore down and lowered the expectations of the people in the presidency and in the government to further degrade the society so things could fall apart, so the bureaucracy and the shadow government could just operate. But now I see it. All of these preparations, they have been grooming this guy for decades, they admit. His mother was literally a major foundation operative. So was his dad. This guy is a globalist from the womb. And he has been groomed and prepared by the elites for this mission. And folks, we have a couple hundred days. If they try to ram through their whole agenda. Now remember, Congress already said no to the banker takeover bill. They pointed out the provisions and that gave the foreign banks dictatorial power through the Federal Reserve. And they threatened them with physical martial law. And Senator Inhofe's on record, and others, we've interviewed them, and 2 congressmen, not just the senator. And then Bloomberg Financial and others reported that a former Federal Reserve Board of Governors head came out and said, look, I tried to find out about this, and I was told, shut up, War Powers Act has been enacted. Congress and no one else has any authority. And I've interviewed all these former top, the father of Reaganomics, all these top people, and they agree. We have had a financial coup by Wall Street. And see, he's their front man. He's their pitch man. And so we've got a couple hundred days on the Second Amendment issue, on the Animal ID Act, the Premise Society to take over all the farms and ranches, regulate them, control them in ways you can't imagine. Go check it out. $1,000 a day fines for nothing. Written by big agribusiness to shut down the family farm. God, they're going after the organic foods. They're going after everything. Ladies and gentlemen, this is their total move.